Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it. Had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chatbots can then ask questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show. And there it is. Little click, bloop, and we're like on. We're just cranking. We're going to have an amazing episode. I'm excited. I can't wait to tell you all who I get to chat with today. She is an international marketing leader, thought leader, a writer, speaker, amazing stories. And we're going to get into some of these and just learn from her and talk about marketing and just geek out. She actually covered Nelson Mandela's first speech in the United States. She's an international marketing professional. Currently the CMO of LogDNA. Kris Bondi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So this is fun. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. Marketing. This is our marketing leadership series. So understanding what are CMOs looking at, what do you like, what do you not like? And so we're going to start the show off the way we start every show. And let me grab this. It's really heavy. All right, here it is. Take this for me. This is Thor's hammer. So there you go. There you go. You got it? Okay. Got it. Smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception, drives you crazy. Just set the record straight.
So I would say one of my top misconceptions that just irks me is when I hear people say you can't market to developers. And I often hear that. Not only I hear it from marketing people, which is even more annoying, but I hear it from actual developers, or I'll hear it from salespeople. And what I consistently say is that if you're thinking about marketing and selling to developers as like fluffy and pushy, that's not marketing. That's bad marketing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So marketing to developers is dev advocate. And so the dev advocacy and the education, the whole thing of empowering an end user to educating them and how to use your product and having them make informed decisions, that's marketing.
Yeah.
So it's not, but if I go out and say, if I go out with, like, hey, I want to get as many scans as possible at an event, and without having a conversation with somebody about, well, what problems are you facing, and how are you using this technology? Oh, really? You're using that technology, and how's that working for you? And how are you developing?
Yeah.
And you're doing this, you're doing that. Have you seen this issue? Have you seen that issue? Oh, this is working for you. That's great. And that's marketing. That truly is marketing. And if somebody's not doing it otherwise, it irks me because, one, it's a misconception, but two, because it uh, it it feeds itself,
Yeah.
and it drives me even more crazy if I hear it within my own organization.
Right. Right. Is it just that developers will suffer the marketing a lot less? I mean, is it less patience for the bad marketing? I mean, my
No,
bad
I
marketing
just
didn't work, you know?
I think it's no, I think it's lazy marketing. I
Is
mean,
like, yeah.
I'm not putting this on the developer. I'm putting it solely on the marketing people.
Yeah, but do
It's
they just not put up with it as much? Or no, or marketers are like, it doesn't work, so we're gonna be lazy about it? Like,
it's both. It's an
okay.
excuse for the marketing side,
Yeah, yeah.
and for the developer side, it is not. They have a bad taste in their mouth because people have come at them in a lazy, uninformed way.
Right.
So, whereas if you come at somebody and you come with really the right mindset, where we're all in it together,
Yeah.
and it is, um, there's almost, it's, there used to be a thing, and I'm going to say used to because I don't like, I want to believe it's not always the case anymore. But there used to be this thing of, oh, what the marketing and sales people say, like, it's whatever you need to get the sale, and it's not always what's the current of the product, or what things really
Right.
are. And that's in between being poor sales and marketing, and just frankly wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that we have evolved to be past that. And
Mhm.
maybe not everyone has, but I think we've evolved to be past that. But because of that experience, people have a bad taste in their mouth. And I think that
Yeah.
we have gotten past that now, or we should have gotten past that now.
Right. Right. It comes back to just helping, right? Just
Right.
providing value for whatever entity type of humans on the other end, you know, whether they're in sales or finance or dev or yeah, how,
Exactly.
how do
It
you get
is.
into their heads? Because maybe that's the problem marketers have if they're marketing someone in IT or who dev. Like it's like I don't know what they even think. It's like a different language they think.
Well, then they need to educate themselves.
Yeah.
It is, if you're a marketer and you don't understand what the persona and the audience that you're working with, if you don't understand that, then you need to educate yourself, or you shouldn't be in your role.
Right.
Boy, I've come
Right.
out really harsh.
Yeah. Oh, it's yeah. You're just laying the smackdown. That Thor's hammer is like, ouch! I haven't been used this much. That's great. So, okay. So, how do you go about learning what's in the head and understanding your
Um,
buyer especially when they're a
so it
developer?
Right. Well, it is, there's reading. There's
Okay.
and in the beginning, you read above your level. And what I
Okay.
mean by your technical level. If you so my background is not, I don't code.
Okay.
Um, but I understand the development process.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I understand the development process. I understand technologies. I've been in the space for a long time. I will say that. But from the beginning, it was both reading technical blogs,
Yeah.
and reading technical blogs as well as reading analyst reports, and that then you start getting the, oh, this is what it means to the end user. Oh, this is what it means to the business. And my role is to be specifically my role is to be the translator in between the
Hmm.
technology and what the business value is.
Right.
And so really understanding what that ecosystem is, and so it means not only reading but then asking questions. If can go into like the deepest depths of, you know 2006, 2009, let's say
Yeah.
2006, whatever Twitter started, and you see my early tweets are things like, it's actually asking questions
Oh,
about, to my developer friends, why would you pick this type of technology over this type of technology? And it's things like that, and just asking the questions. I wouldn't, in today's world, I wouldn't necessarily do that on Twitter, but when Twitter was starting, that's what I was doing, was I would ask questions.
right. That makes sense. So it sounds like you did your research, you were okay asking questions. Did you have to learn the tech? Because I think that maybe some people are a little nervous, if they're not coders. How did you get your head around? Did you eventually learn code or speak the
Uh,
tech language?
I definitely speak the tech language.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, I mean, you're always learning. You're always asking questions. I think that one of the most important things is to ask good follow-up question.
Oh, okay. Did you do buyer persona interviews when you first got in the role? Did you like call buyers and like interrogate
Um,
them? And
I would sit on sales calls.
ah,
So that's when I started, it was sitting on sales calls and being the quiet person in the room.
you learned so much on those sales calls. It's amazing.
You do, but I also think that it's a type of thing of, it's not just the end of the call. Then at the end of the call, you turn to you know, the prospect is off the phone, and you turn to the person and you say, "Now, why did you ask this?" Or, "Well, so they said this. What would that mean?"
Right. Oh, that's smart. Not just the top layer of conversation, but understanding what exactly was going on. Help me decode what I just heard here. That's impressive. Yeah, I could see how that would quickly get you up to speed on jargon, on lingo.
But I
Um,
also spend a lot of time with product people.
oh, okay.
And so for example, right now, so on Monday, I have an analyst briefing, and sometimes I do analyst briefings by myself. Sometimes I'll do it with somebody, like, we have a great director of product marketing who'd been an engineer before,
Okay. Yeah.
and so I did one recently with him on the call where he did the product demo, and uh, I had him present what our product was technically, but and then, so I gave here's what our here's what our product is, here's the here's the value and the audience we serve. He went into the technical part of it. When the analyst started asking questions, we both ended up, so I usually, in a different life, I would have just given the color commentary. What I
Right.
actually did in this case was I started answering some of the technical questions, all with, no, it wasn't on camera, so all with an eye of me watching him, waiting to see if I was, like,
Yeah.
if there was anything I was misstepping.
Right.
And I specifically, and I didn't, he answered most of the technical questions, but there were a few that I answered because I was giving him guidance on
Mm,
doing the bridge. But I
yes.
also was looking at him going like, to make sure that when it got into the deep technical, that I actually was saying it correctly.
Right. And you're
Because
bridging that. Yeah.
it was a question about, that was deeper technical than we usually go. And it
Got it.
was, why is XYZ happening?
Okay.
And so, I answered the question, but then followed up with, in front of an analyst, said, you know, can you, is that, did I say that? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
So, and he was like, yeah, you said it correctly. I was like, okay,
Good.
just,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that I said it correctly. And then I will, the briefing I have coming up on Monday, I'm going to do it with our head of product.
Ah. I don't have much experience with analysts. What's your take on that? And is it more heavily weighted, obviously, when it's a software product you have? And have you known about, have you been working with analysts for a while? And any top 3 tips for how to really
Um,
approach that?
yeah, I think the thing with analysts is, so there are 4 things that you want to get out of an analyst relationship.
Okay.
Everyone thinks about like, oh, I want to be mentioned in the report, or I want to be on the Magic Quadrant if it's Gartner.
Right.
And that's one thing. The other thing is to, even if it's a briefing, and officially you're supposed to only be consultation, that you're getting feedback, but in a briefing, at the appropriate time, say, you know, this is we see things as blah blah blah. Is that what you're hearing? Like getting
Ah,
that feedback about is very important. Um, the next part of it is getting a mention, or getting your information used by the analyst. So I've been fortunate that twice I have been, if you've ever heard of the Gartner Cool Vendor Reports,
yeah.
so twice I've had companies that have gotten that, and in one of the cases, the analyst was actually using some of my slides when she presented.
Wow.
And so, so having your content used by them. And then the fourth one is
It has
being,
your logo on it and everything too, so
yeah,
it kind of
yeah,
shows
like
them like,
it's
hey,
them saying like,
wow.
here is this company that is doing work in this area, and they're showing it like, they're seeing it like this. And so there's that. And then the fourth thing is actually being recommended. So I have, from a consumer of um, analyst consultations in a past life, been in a position where we were getting new software,
Hmm.
and I called up an analyst and said, we're, who should be on our list of vendors that we talk to?
Right.
And they gave us, not only the large one, but here are these 3 up, and these companies that are experts in this area, and we talk to all those companies. So
Got
those are
it.
the 4 things that you will get out of a good analyst relationship.
I love that. I love that. And just understanding that it's a two-way street. You can be providing information,
Yeah.
but also trying to get the feedback, understanding, does this resonate with you? Is this what you're hearing as well? Are we on point with this?
Well, and at a, because I know this is the senior series, I think that that's one of the most important things for a head of marketing to be doing, is to not only to not only be looking at, okay, how are we bringing in leads, but then from the positioning standpoint of, does what I'm saying resonate? And then also, I don't want to paint us into a box that is, even if it looks like we're good for now, where is everything going? And which
Right.
is the reason why you need a broader analyst relationship than just one analyst firm.
Right. Right. So that you don't just sort of follow this one single path in this one
Yeah,
direction and end up at a dead end or something like
right.
that. Yeah. Interesting. Having multiple analysts and different inputs, what's your take on competitors? Is it what is it? What,
In our competitors,
yeah, yeah. Do you utilize them for research? Do you ignore them? What's your take? And do most
depends on
marketers do this right or wrong? And what's your
it depends on
yeah.
it depends on the competitor. I I will look at, if we're talking specifically analyst, I'll look at reports that mention competitors. I'll look at um, I'll look at how our competitors are going to market, and how they're doing. But I also will be very aware of where our differences lie.
Right.
I don't rely on an analyst to tell me the differences between us. I mean, frankly, I look at that before I'm coming into a company.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That
Um,
makes sense.
you know, I have a unique history of going to different companies, so I do a lot of due diligence before I walk into a company.
Right. That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, I would assume that everyone does that, but I
You'd
I
be
don't know.
surprised. um, well, we talked about marketing to developers. I wanted to get your thoughts on marketing to marketers. Love it, leave it. What do you think?
Um, it's not a space I would wanna be in.
Sure.
I, um, I will make a statement and I will be very clear that I have said this now for a few years. So take it for the grain of salt it should probably be taken with.
Goody. Sounds like we're about to get the good stuff.
No, no, it's I look at Martech and I think it's ripe for implosion.
Mm,
Again, I've said that for a few years now, so take it for what it's worth. The reason I wouldn't want to be in that space is in some I know marketers who prefer it because they think it's easier to sell to them.
yeah.
I look at it differently as I think of when you're selling to marketers, there's only so many pennies in the jar.
Hmm.
So your competitor isn't only so say that marketing automation was a new thing.
Sure.
And it's not only that your competitor is those other marketing automation companies, it is whatever other technology. And
Mm,
probably more specifically, like I have people come to me who have newer technologies. They're going to have to displace something else for me to be able to use them.
right.
And it
Right.
may be that they're displacing a program, so maybe they're displacing some type of advertising, but they're displacing something in a budget because there are only so many pennies in the jar.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. I was talking to my friend David today, who owns his own business, and he's like his team keeps bringing him more tools, and it's like, well, if you want to buy this next tool, you got to find two that you want to get rid of.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're right. You're not just competing with the other people in your specific category. You're just
No,
competing across the entire marketing budget, which might
exactly.
involve lead gen and other things. So if you're not the delivering the hot lead to revenue
Hmm.
facet, you're just a nice add-on. You may get pushed aside for something that delivers something even more relevant.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a reason why I wouldn't want to be in that space. But like I said, I have said for several years that it's ripe for implosion. So
Yeah, tell me about
what
that.
do I
What
know?
what what kind of signals that it's right? Is it like we're ready for the pets.com bust type thing, or?
Um, I don't I don't I no, I think of it more as there are so many different softwares
Hmm.
that I'm looking at, can there really be 5 softwares that do this one thing, and will there only be 2 or 3 of them? So when I say implosion, that means that there could be acquisition. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at so um Eloqua is owned by Oracle now. Marketo is owned by Adobe. Pardot is owned by Salesforce. So
Right.
that space has that I consider an implosion, only in that there were at the time there were like I don't think Sales Genie exists anymore. Like I don't know if
Silver Pop got bought, and
Silver Pop, and then there was oh darn, there was one that was this is so bad 'cause it's based in Sacramento. There was another small one.
yeah,
And so to me, those being purchased by other larger companies, and then there were probably like another 3 or 4 that just went away.
yeah, the
So that to me
consolidation. Yeah,
yeah, so that to me is that's what I mean by implosion. It ends up being the consolidation and acquisition.
right. So many vendors out there, and it's
Yeah,
like the ones are going to rise to the surface. The platforms are going to make their plays, and the
right.
platforms always win. So pick a platform, and you need like a big brother, big sister to buy you. Otherwise, you just get sort of drowned out now by the billions of dollars of advertising. And
Yeah. So where you see a lot of that is it is in advertising enablers. I see a lot of, and also things that are app related. Both app
mm,
measurement and app marketing are
okay,
things where there is a fair amount of companies still.
so it's ripe for some kind of movement there to.
Again, I could be very wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong in timing. It
I
is
don't
not my
know.
area of expertise.
It seems noisy. I mean, Scott Brinker always has his chart getting bigger and bigger, even with the consolidation. They keep being more and more. And
Mhm.
even if you gave each one of those $1, you know, like it just
Right.
doesn't work. So, why do you think this even happened? Just I'm out of curiosity. Have you,
Um, I think that I think that success, uh, success ends up meaning that there's more better or different versions of it. And
sure.
that's also something that doesn't just happen in MarTech,
Hmm.
happens in, I see it in development all the time where just because it's a different way of doing something, and it may be if you have to come up with, and this is a marketing thing overall, it's not just are you answering a pain,
Hmm.
are you answering a pain that somebody cares about?
Right.
So it's I think Jason Lipkin talks about, the difference between a vitamin and an aspirin,
Yes.
and it
Could you
really
describe
is.
that for people that haven't?
Oh, certainly. So are you going to make things better for someone, or are you answering a pain? And so if I were to say, in fact, I just had this conversation recently with someone. I was trying to explain about some different technologies, and I was saying somebody who is somebody who's on the journey to picking up a new technology,
Yeah.
um, you might be able to make things better for them, but if they haven't, them compared to someone who has already deployed a different technology and it's causing them all kind of problems,
Hmm.
that second one where they're in the midst of a lot of painful problems, they're an easier sell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is, and it, when I say an easier sell, it could be that both of them are a legitimate sale. It's just which one's going to be the faster sale. The faster sale is more likely to be the one that is in the midst of, we can't deploy because this keeps breaking,
Right. Yeah.
as opposed
Yeah.
to, we need to get this right so that things don't break when we deploy. That second one, who has already had the problem,
Hmm.
will be somebody who wants to move quicker.
Right. I mean, you've got a splitting headache. Do I
Right,
go get some vitamins to feel better a week from now? No, I need to
right,
feel better now.
right.
And I will pay. Yeah, I will pay. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in the airport and you have a headache and you go into one of those stores. You're like, yeah, I'll pay the $5 and
Oh,
80 cents for the
no, no, no.
little.
I'm in the airport regularly, and I will tell you that if you look at where my receipts are, coffee and Advil are one of my number one, like, disturbingly, in almost every trip or every other trip, I'm buying a small thing of Advil and a cup of coffee.
Yep. Yep. And it's not usually just a little 2 pack. It's like a bottle.
Oh,
So
no,
like,
no,
oh,
no. I buy the bottle,
yep,
and that bottle disturbingly takes me through a few trips, and then I'm in
yep.
another airport and I'm paying $10 for 14 or 20
You're right.
Advil.
5 was a little conservative. It is
That
more of
was,
like eight and
yeah,
change, 10, depending on what store. And you're like, yeah, but I've got a headache, so I'm going to pay this price.
yes,
Whereas, do I want the emergency or some
yeah,
vitamin C halls? Maybe.
yeah,
It's more of like if I have extra time or money, I'll get that. But if I have a headache, I will stop. I will get that thing. And it's so cool you bring that up in terms of the marketing, because it's a good, also probably for choosing what company you're going to work at, is
right,
the company's product, a vitamin. It's a nice to have, and you
right,
can forget about it tomorrow and you'll be fine. Or is it
hmm,
one of those things that solves one of those imminent pain points?
right, right. And the imminent pain point could even be could be revenue related.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure.
it's also the thing of, and it really does depend on, in some ways, what the economy is like, or what the care is for a specific company. But there was a period of time where you you were able, if it was revenue related, and more likely to make a dollar, you
Hmm.
had a better shot of it being purchased than if it was going to save a dollar.
Right.
And I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, but that was for a period of time.
So make more likely to make a dollar than save a dollar. I mean, that makes sense too.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Oh, cool. Save money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we want to spend it. We need to get the leads. Just
right.
you're going to CEO and say,
Well,
"Hey, I
I'm
saved you a whole bunch of
actually,
money."
yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, but I was actually thinking more of, I was coming back to the, again, my world. So I was coming back to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
developer side
sure.
of, does it get, can it get your product producing money faster as opposed to trying to sell savings to a CIO?
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Because then it then now you're pinging a different person on the board.
Right,
You're either pinging the revenue side or the cost saving, the cost center
right,
side.
right,
Yeah. And the revenue side can be boundless, whereas the cost saving might be a percent of something.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And frankly, people are often more skeptical when you say you're going to save them money.
Funny how that is, right? That's
Yeah,
probably it's probably more accurate to say that you're going to save the money, whereas making the money, results may vary,
right.
but people are more skeptical about that. That's
More
interesting.
skeptical, and also skeptical, and then also they might not. They also may not care as much, if depending on the size of the company.
True.
So, getting product to market quicker, there is a, even if I can't tell you the dollar amount, if it's a difference between you're going to have a new product in market or you're not going to have a new product in market, obviously having the new product in market in a month earlier
Yeah.
will definitely make you more money than not having it in market.
Yeah, it's that speed, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a phrase, speed kills, but it can also kill in a great way. Like speed closes deals, speed moves companies forward. That makes total sense. Um, Question: Are there any new things coming out? Speaking of talking to analysts, looking at competitors, any new things coming out in marketing that kind of have you excited, or at least intrigued enough to take another step closer and examine?
Um, I would say it's a trend more than a new thing,
Sure.
and that is, and I think it's actually how we're, overall how we're selling and how people are using, and that is the concept of creating a movement,
Hmm.
and being part of something bigger than just your own company. So I'll give you an example. Um, I'll give you a few examples. Uh, if you look at if you look on the consumer side and you look at iPhones and iPhone users, you have people who, you know, you have people who will don't know each other but will give advice to each other on, like, oh, I found this like new thing. Oh, I found, and it's the hacks of being able to use it better.
Sure.
So that's on a consumer side. That's sort of, they were all in this together.
Yeah.
Um, I when I look at it from what's happening now on, again, if I'm looking in my space,
Hmm.
um, there is a movement in technology of being not, not all about just the, be my customer and work with my product.
Yeah.
That's, in my mind, that's the legacy version of the world. There's a movement towards, how do we empower users to be more productive? And that may mean that you're not using us for every single thing, but you can get in and out of our product quickly. You can get what you need. And it empowers you to create better product.
Mm,
It's an approach we have, but we're not the only company that has that. And I think that's the other thing is that being part of a movement means that you're part of something larger than just your company. And that is something where when you're looking at, okay, what are the themes? What do people, our competitors in our ecosystem, um, our our friends, our partners or potential partners, uh, what are the things that are in common with all the people who they sell to, who we all sell to? And so it's
right.
not just when you're looking at persona, it's not just what is their tech stack and who are they, but it is what is their job. So if you take a step back and you say like, this is a thing where like, oh, I may have this pain point that we're addressing,
Mm-hmm.
but do they care about that pain point? And does a person um who is actually cutting the check, do they care about that
Mm,
pain point?
right.
So if I say like, oh, it makes so and so's life easier, does a person who's actually cutting the check care that so and so's life is easier?
Right. Or do they just want them to do their job?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it just okay, you made someone's life easier, but there's a whole account happening here. What's your take on ABM? Have you been doing the ABM thing for a while or
Um, ABM has had many names. A long time ago, it was called swarm marketing.
wait, what was it called?
Swarm,
Swarm.
same
Interesting. I didn't.
concept, the exact same concept.
Oh my goodness, really? Were
Yeah.
there books on that and everything and conferences and
Uh, I'm going to say there probably wasn't conferences. There may have been books.
okay.
Um, but the way that I approach ABM is a hybrid approach. And I know for a fact I'm not the only person who's approaching it as a hybrid approach. So ABM, in my opinion, is appropriate for a certain type of customer that you're going after.
Sure.
But I've seen companies who have ABM been so committed to ABM that they have ignored cohorts.
Hmm.
And I think that that is short-sighted. I think that part of what you need to do is to measure everything and measure it. So part of what we do is we've implemented advanced attribution.
Sure.
It's something that I developed a few companies ago. I mean, I say a few companies ago, I guess at this point, probably maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
And so that is uh, not only measuring the lead and lead source for what's come in, but then the most recent lead and lead source so that we're both tracking where something's come from, but also what's converting.
Hmm.
What is that thing that made it convert? And that most recent lead and lead source is what gets stamped onto opportunities. So
Sure.
we can then measure if you were a lead that uh, came in because we met at a conference,
Right.
and that's great. But it was then 6 months later, 9 months later, 3 months later, whatever it was, that there was a specific webinar or there was something, some type of content or something that you took an interest in, and that's how you ended up getting engaged in the process.
Right.
Knowing what both of those are is very important.
Yeah.
I had where this came from, and I said like 8 or 9 years ago, it came from I was at a company and I was having a what I'll call passionate discussion with a VP of finance
Uh-oh.
who's
Finance. Deadly.
who said the words, he said, why are we spending money on content? Because it's the leads of people who are requesting a trial that are converting to opportunity.
Uh-huh.
And um, I, so my version of a bad attitude is that I, um, I stayed in the office until 3:30 or 4 that night,
Mm-hmm.
because I pulled down everything into an Excel spreadsheet and manually did all the
Mm-hmm.
calculation. And what we came away with was, if somebody were to come in and sign up on the website and they had a 46% chance of becoming an opportunity. But if they saw our content somewhere else and then came to our website, they had a 73% chance of becoming an opportunity.
Aha.
Um, so we found this out because I had a bad attitude and I spent all that time manually calculating it. The
Did you
important thing is
throw it on his desk in the morning when he got in? You like, we're still there.
I took a short nap. I came back. We had a calm discussion where, and it was a thing of me like taking him through. It's like, oh, you're right. And it's
Right?
like, okay,
You're ready
I
for a
will.
fight? And he's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Dang
I
it.
will. And I was like, okay, I'll never go through this again. We need to actually bake this into
Sure.
Salesforce.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Understanding both, understanding the journey, the context of the situation, it's so important. I think sometimes people get lost trying to track maybe the last touch or trying some middle touch where they don't even
Right,
have a clear understanding of the first touch. And it's like,
right,
it's like first things first, but then keep adding more data points on so you can have that big picture and be able to have those conversations and
right,
justify what's going on.
right. Exactly.
Makes sense. How about chat? How about I've seen chat just sort of come out of nowhere in the B2B world. And to your point about Swarm and ABM, chat's
Yeah.
been around B2C for a long time. I remember using it. Yeah, I would say as a teenager, but I remember using it at least a decade ago and being the
hmm
guy answering a question on a shopping cart.
Um. So I think it depends on the company, but
Hmm.
I've been in companies where it has been, again, the number one converter.
Really?
Yeah, and I will say that chat, ultimately is, for all the, um, chatbots that exist in the world, I will say the quality of chat depends on the quality of the person who's on the other side.
Okay. Yep.
So it is, depending on how well it's worked and how well it is, and how quickly it's worked, will really depend on what will result in either good results or like, oh, yeah, that came in too.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
mean, really, it really is the difference of that.
So the results can
Can
vary
vary
all over the
widely.
place.
And it really is the thing of, uh, if you have somebody who is very good, like I would say a very good SDR, you have a very good SDR who is, and I mean, when I say I mean actually having it, round robin through the SDRs,
Uh huh.
and you have people who are on top of it.
Yep.
By far a fantastic way of engaging someone.
It seems like a shift from, and you kind of hear this every now and then for people saying like, marketing is all about hurry up and wait. Oh, we got to get your conversion. You're researching right now, but we'll get back to you. And then now sales has to do a 1 week or more dance trying to schedule time to get back with you when maybe we could answer your questions right now.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, and also whether the SDR is under marketing or sales is depends on the company.
Yeah, true. True. Do you want to put an iron in that fire?
Um, it usually is under me. It's not currently under me. And which I'm perfectly fine with,
Sure.
because we have a really good manager who is, an inside sales manager, and it makes perfect sense for that person to be managing them.
Got it. Yeah.
Uh, w- where when it's been under me in the past, it's been that the head of sales is focused on closing deals, and there is, no one more concerned with whether the leads that are being given to sales are the right leads
Mm-hmm.
than marketing. And so I think in a lot of cases it makes sense for marketing to have it. In
Right.
this case, we have somebody who's in between there who is an inside sales manager, and I think that that person has such a tight tie-in with marketing that it makes perfect sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Sometimes with that debate, there's people hardlining on one side or the other. But I like your answer. It's like really either, as long as you're aligned, as long as you're connected, and you have
Yeah,
the right person in charge, and then to your point, the right person at the keyboard
right,
doing the chit chat or the phone call.
right, exactly.
Makes sense. Well, this I've just been learning left and right. My next question is really, who are you? Like, where did you come from? How did you become this sage, this wise marketer,
Um, gosh.
marketing
Uh,
leader, and all these things?
so let's see.
Okay, take us back. Take us back wherever you want to go.
Uh, so I started, we'll start my college.
Yeah.
I went to the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I had a dual major of communication, rhetoric, and political science, a minor in journalism.
Oh.
Uh, so even when I was in college, I would say that my major was manipulation and persuasion.
Oh, I like that. Did
Uh,
you did you know that's what you were doing when you signed up for it, or did you kind of just fall into it?
um, I interestingly, I knew I wanted to be in business. I can't say at that age I knew what that meant,
Right.
but I knew I wanted to be in international business. I also actually originally wanted to be a reporter until I and did some reporting and then found out that uh, I figured out very quickly that I didn't like the salaries of reporters.
Yeah, it's tough, huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
you do some free I did the same thing. Do a little freelancing. Oh, this is fun. See your name in print and you're like, "Wait a minute, I spent like hours on that."
like wow,
uh,
I really I so respect reporters.
agreed.
So that's where I started. The I have a unique background in that I moved to California. I moved to San Francisco in time for a recession. But the difference with that recession than anything I've seen since then was it was still far enough back where the people who were being laid off thought they were going into another corporate job. So
Oh.
I came in at a very young age and was managing projects in corporations and had not probably, far more responsibility than I should have had. And so that's how I got started.
So
Was I went from contract to contract from a few years,
got it. Okay.
taking on large contracts in companies, and so I was able to get a lot of experience. And then about well, it's 2020, so I guess about 20 years ago now, I
Wow.
switched over to technology. And that was even kind of a happenstance type of thing, but I switched over to technology and,
What were you before that? Just
um,
random business industries kind of thing?
healthcare,
Healthcare. Okay. Yeah.
healthcare and business. Yeah, random business and healthcare. And so switching over then, and I do think that the journalism background helped me greatly. I don't I'm certain that I'm not more intelligent than anyone else, but
Sure.
what I did have was I've always asked good follow-up questions. And so to
Huh.
your early question about how did I learn, I interviewed people. Whether it was a formal interview or not, it was getting to like, well, how does it do that? Why does it do that?
Yeah.
Why are they purchasing? Well, do they, like you say that they're purchasing for this reason, but like why? And I would push it, and I that's how I learned. And that's how I
Wow.
was then able to start piecing everything together. So, um, the a few things unique about my background is that I have had a reputation for uh, having basically at this point three things that people would bring me in for, and
Hmm.
that is go to market, ramp the front of the pipeline significantly, and make a company famous. And up until now, usually with an eye towards acquisition, IPO, or next round of funding. The reason I say up until now is because the company I'm with right now, LogDNA, I joined because there was a few things. One is I wanted a certain culture, which we definitely have.
Cool.
The second part of it was I would not come in unless it was sworn up and down to me that we were going to go big.
Mm,
And so that is, it's a fantastic company. I love what we do. I love the management team, and I love uh, the drive to make a difference for the end
yeah.
users, and the growth that we're seeing is based on that. So that's the reason why I'm here. It is funny that I ran into a former board member recently, and he said, "Oh, you're at this company, you're at LogDNA now. Does that mean they're going to be acquired?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I'm here because we're marketing." But it was just funny that like it was a default, and I'm like, "No, no, no. We are on a path, and I
Right.
am so happy to be on this path with this company." So
Wow.
that's what I am and what I do.
All the angel investors are like following you on LinkedIn just to see, oh, where's she going now? Do they need any more capital there? Let's give them a call. Wow. I love that. The idea of go to market, ramping pipeline, or just let's be famous. Let's get this thing cranking. Let's make some news.
Well, I will say that the way that I've approached my my companies has been by looking at them the way a VC does. So I do a lot of due diligence. I do a lot of looking at what is the market opportunity, and from there, if 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 I think that somebody will invest in them, it's because I think that there is a good market opportunity. And I
Wow.
think that for anyone looking at a new job, that it I would find it hard not to be looking at a company in that way.
Maybe I'm sure the level of detail you go into is tremendous. Would there be a couple key factors you look at, or you would recommend other people if they're about
Yeah,
to
I would
position?
definitely, I mean, when you when you're looking at a company, it's looking at both. When I say look at the market fit, I mean if you're a marketing person, you should know how to do that anyway.
Hmm.
But if you don't, what I would say is um, look at how much that's been invested in them. Look at how much has been invested in the space overall.
Okay.
Look at if there is uh, what pain points are they solving for? And part of the thing is you may have to see what what the leadership team itself hasn't realized yet, both good and bad. So
Right.
if they say like, "Oh, we sell X if we sell X to Y,"
Hmm.
then you can say, "Well, okay, like how much does that persona, how much can they how much are they allowed to purchase as opposed to someone else?" And then look at where are people in the next year or two?
Hmm.
Where are they planning on spending money? And then also, if you look at the analyst reports, where is that going in the 5-year time frame? So I'll give you an example since I just did a
Yeah.
lot of X and Y's.
No. Yeah. Totally.
Um, so I was with a company called Mocha 5.
Okay.
When we came into Mocha 5, I came in as part of a turnaround. When we came into Mocha 5, it's client side virtualization.
Okay.
And we came in, it was very focused on bring your own device. And this is a good example of like, oh, people like having to use their own computer, and oh, and companies, like it could be a cost savings for the company. And uh so one of the first things I did was I came in February. One of the first things I did was I took both Tech Target and IDG both did a version of a survey every year. They did it
Okay.
in the middle of the summer, so it would come out in October, November. Of here's where people are saying they're going to spend money,
Yeah.
And in the case of this, there was, if you go from left to right, of left being where people will say they're going to, IT organizations saying they're spending the most money,
Yeah.
right being the least. Like second from like one of the last things they were saying, like, oh, BYOD, they were thinking about. Number one or number two was security. The whole thing of how Mocha 5 did the client side virtualization was seven layers of security, this totally
Wow.
secure thing, and it was never highlighted.
Right.
It was, I mean, it would be highlighted as in like, oh, and it's secure, as opposed to coming in and saying, we have this security thing for you.
Right.
They were selling to, I did an audit of what was done before then, and I found marketing materials of use it in your dentist office. Like these, like, oh, we'll get people in, and the thinking was we'll be able to get, if we go small organizations,
Mm-hmm.
they'll buy it faster, but they would
Mm.
buy so few of them. So I came in February. In July, we had our first $1 million deal, and it was
Wow.
to a large oil company. And guess what? That oil company didn't care about the cost really. I mean, there was a cost savings for them, but ultimately they had purchased it for 20,000 plus consultants, because they were giving the consultants extra, they were giving them, having to give them a different laptop because of security.
Right.
So when we switched it to security, suddenly we could sell a
Huh.
large deal.
Jeez.
And I mean, that's just the thing of going like, okay, yeah, yes, people prefer to use their own laptop, but the organization, what is their biggest concern? And what are they saying
Right.
they're going to spend money on the next 2 years? And so addressing that and
Mm.
seeing how you line up with it, if it makes sense for you to line up with that, that makes much more sense.
What will they spend on? Where are they?
Yeah.
What's on their targets? And
Yeah.
then,
And
yeah.
also, like so there's another company I came into where the idea was, oh, it was a developer tool, and it was, we will do hackathons and get developers to use this SDK,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
we'll focus on really small teams because they're more likely to implement. And I came in and this I was looking at a timeline, and it was in December, there was this, I came in February, and in December there was a spike, and then it went, I think I was looking at this in March, and it went like December, and then January it went down a little, and then like February it dropped, and then March. And I was
Huh.
looking at it with an operations person, and I said, what happened in February? Oh, we did hackathon. So people were creating just to create, to be part of the hackathon.
Yeah.
And because there was no real need, by March it had fallen off.
Ah.
And
Yeah.
and then what you saw was that in March that happened. March is when we started marketing,
Yep.
and it started going up in April, and then up in May, and then up in June, and it was consistently going up because we were actually marketing to organizations that had, it was specifically app related, so we were marketing organizations that had apps with a certain number of users, that actually fit a certain use case. And because we were actually marketing to a specific thing that was
Yeah.
needed, um, it was what I would call like a true market fit, as opposed to like, oh, let's just get people to do it.
Right.
And it was sustained growth.
Yeah.
And so, just looking at those type of things, if we go back to like, well, if we're thinking about what to do, that's how I would approach it.
Got it. That's fantastic. Just a little bit of the right kind of research just
Mhm.
gives you a target to point at, and then can't imagine the joy you were experiencing as you're seeing that number just continue to grow and
Oh yeah.
improve and
Yeah.
improve. It's like it's
That's the fun.
working. We found it. Yeah, that is the
Yeah.
fun for sure. I would be remiss is a good word for that. I didn't ask you. You've mentioned the power of the follow up question, and it's one of your specialties. What what's your take on it? Give me your master course on it in a few minutes. How do we ask the right follow-up questions?
Um, this is going to sound really hokey.
Yeah.
You actually have to listen to what the person said the first time.
Interesting.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but the follow-up question actually has to be related to what the person just said. As opposed to
Yeah,
having your list of questions. Like you need the questions you're going to hit, but I often don't know what a follow-up question is until somebody says something. I mean, you just did it to me. You did
totally.
what you just did now was you actually listened to me and said, "You said this, so let me ask you this question in relationship."
Right.
That's a follow-up question.
Just actually listened. The hokey stuff is usually true.
Yeah.
Like anything people say is cliche
Uh-huh.
is like just really true, and people are just weird to admit that. Interesting. So just actually listen. Don't try to script out every question in advance.
No, because if you're doing that and you're saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask this, and then I'm gonna
Hmm.
ask them why, and then I'm gonna ask them why this," and, it's not to be obnoxious.
Right.
It really is, it really is something where if you have a conversation, you can better understand what somebody's doing, but by taking an interest in what they're talking about.
Right. Right. Huh. Powerful stuff. I appreciate you answering that too. I mean, it kind of humoring me because
No, it makes
asking
perfect
questions
sense.
is powerful. It really is. It's if you can ask the right questions, whether you're a
Clearly
leader.
clearly clearly you know that
Well,
by what you're
well,
doing.
well, I enjoy it too. Like the joy I
Yes.
get from discovering that second question. It's so much fun. You're right.
Mhm,
It's not you have to you have to uncover it. Like a paleontologist or something.
mhm.
Man, you've had this amazing career and people are I must follow you on LinkedIn. I think I sent you a connection earlier. Like,
Mhm.
where's she going now? Like, knowing that you research these so much, it's like, oh,
I plan
you
to be here for quite some time.
okay, all right. Well, if that ever changes, the world will pay attention to that. But a question to kind of sort of wrap up the whole career and personal side. It's a hypothetical, and if you could get in a time machine and go back to the beginning of your career, you just graduated with your manipulation and persuasion degree. If you could go back and talk to yourself at that period of time, what would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now? What kind of advice or recommendations would you give yourself?
Um, I actually would go back a few years earlier,
Okay,
uh, and I'm gonna get really
that's
specific,
allowed. I'll allow it.
um, because my alma mater just created a dual track that
Okay.
didn't exist up until I think this past September, which is there's now University of Pittsburgh now has a dual degree in English and computer science,
Wow.
and I think that combination is what I had to piece together for myself. I did 4 internships while I was in college.
Sure.
And then all the contract work and all the things where I pieced things together, I think I would have gotten more out of that. And I don't think it has to be specifically that. There are a number of other universities where Carnegie Mellon, I know of somebody who went for economics and computer science. I think the combination of if you want to be in business,
Hmm.
doing something that is both, if you want to be in my business, technology and English or economics. If you want to be in a different field, I think that economics and something is worthwhile. I also will throw in, because I have a teenager, I will say that the one advice I have given her, because I refuse to give her advice on what she goes to school for,
Nice.
except that I repeatedly say, don't go for marketing.
Ah,
And I don't say that saying not to go into marketing. She can go into she can do whatever she wants. But my point of not getting a marketing degree is that you can you can take an economics degree and go into marketing,
yeah.
but you can't have a marketing degree and go into anything else.
Wow. That's
And
so true.
so if I were to look back on giving myself advice in the past, there are things that didn't exist at the time or that I didn't know existed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have put things together that were 2 degrees that gave me different things. Now, I will say that I think I did think I was going into politics. So there, like, I think I had the concept. I just had the wrong 2 degrees.
Yeah, sure. Well, that makes total sense. I mean, I didn't get a marketing degree,
Yeah.
and mine was kind of more like what you're describing. It was computer science, but I was like, gosh, get me out of this process. I was doing like microprocessors. I'm like, I'm a people person. Where are the people at down here?
Yeah.
No people, just gates moving back and forth. So a
Well,
lot of
and that's why I would say, like, that's why I would say not just the computer science degree.
right.
Because if there's one thing when I look to hire someone is I look for somebody who writes well.
Yes.
And, I
Yeah,
look for
I mean,
somebody
it's
who
so true.
writes well and somebody who wants to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 things.
Writes well and wants to learn. Are you hiring right now? For those listening?
I am not hiring right now. I'll be hiring later this year.
But maybe we can follow you on social. So when you are hiring,
Yes. I will
people can
also
seek
say
you
that
out.
we are definitely hiring on the engineering side in a big way.
Okay.
And we might be hiring on the product management side as well. I'm not certain.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, this has been fantastic. And on that note, where can people connect with you? Where can they follow you, find out more about you, see what kind of things you're investigating?
So my Twitter is at KBONDI, K Bondi. The company is LogDNA, LogDNA.com. Those are probably the 2 best ways to find me.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I just had a
Thank you for the
blast.
invitation.
This
I
is
enjoyed it very much.
fantastic. You know so many things, and it was fantastic that you were able to share them all with us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate talking with you.
For sure. And for those listening, if you learned something, and I know you freaking did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, then share this episode with someone else, one other person, be a thought leader in just with one person, 2 people, or 1,000. Hey, I won't complain, but like just get this information to people's hands, especially if you know someone who's doing marketing around developers or anyone that needs to know more about analysts. We learned so much today, especially those follow-up questions. So again, Kris, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good
Awesome.
day. Bye.
You bet. For everyone out there listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We'll catch you all next time. All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors. Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see you all in the next one.